You know, to be perfectly honest, if I was Brad, the helicopter pilot, I would have gone for reinforcements a long time ago. This mansion can't be that far out from Raccoon City, right? I mean, by the time I've unlocked all the friggin' doors in this mansion and been savaged to death by these friggin' Dobermans, Brad should have had time to circle back around to the old Raccoon City Police Department and got some SWAT team members in here. Get some extra firepower, goddammit. Instead, no, I'm stuck here blasting away poor Dobermans. Have you ever seen a Doberman without the clipped ears? They're friggin' adorable. But, yeah, I've got no qualms about shooting evil pointy-tipped zombie Dobermans in this game. Now, I've got no problem with that whatsoever. But we've got a little bit of blue herb now, and that is because things are about to get a little poisonous. It depends how unlucky you are, really. There's a few enemies that drop down from the ceiling out of the blue in the next following sections, and as long as you keep running, you can pretty much avoid them. But first, we need to do a little bit of pool maintenance. I like to imagine this was the umbrella company pool for this particular facility, and in between researching horrific abominations, the scientists all come down here for a little paddle. Back when it wasn't so grim-looking, and actually, come to think of it, that's an inlet. That's like a sewage inlet. This pool was probably full of turds. No wonder there was a friggin' biological outbreak. You're gonna be swimming in that filth. Everyone's, of course, gonna be turning into zombies left, right, and center. But anyway, we're gonna traverse over to the opposite side of here and loop back around into an adjacent area. All this water is gonna be filtered down over a little waterfall. And later on, we're gonna have to come back here and refill the pool so we can access an entire other area, but it's largely straightforward. We're heading towards the residence through this way, and we get to use one of these fancy lifts. I think it's the first time I've used one of these in this playthrough so far. I always thought this was uber cool first time around playing this way back when. Ah, crap, we got crows. You know what, we're gonna nip this in the bud. All crows must die. They are nothing but nuisances. Let's hope they don't notice me creeping around ready. Oh wait, no, they've taken flight. Sod it. Murder them all. Murder them all. No crow left alive. Oh, they're just vicious little bastards, and they don't always stay down. I would have thought one bullet would be enough, because, you know, the size ratio between a bullet and a crow, you pretty much turn through a lot of internal stuff there when you shoot a bird of that particular size with a, is it a 9mm handgun? I don't know. Anyway, that's where the battery needs to go much, much later on. So we can loop back around and access that little secret bit under the waterfall there, but now we need to go avoid some poisonous snakes. I like to call this little part Snake Alley. I think there's a few more herbs down here. There's a red herb at the very least. And I've already got a blue herb in my inventory. So we're going to be okay if we do take a little bit of a bite. But yeah, they just drop down out of nowhere. You know, like the ambush predators they are. But as long as you keep running, there's not much they can really do to you. And even if you do take a few bites, through this door here, which is the main entrance to the residence, there is an absolute crap ton of blue herbs. Should be just down the front here. But in the meantime, I'm going to get the old assault shotty out, because you can never be too careful. But yeah, there it is. We've got a few blue herbs. We've got 3 blue herbs, just in case you're incompetent enough to get the old poison status. Now I just need to figure out which door leads to the actual safe room. Is it left? No, that's locked. So it must be, by process of elimination, this old door. And we can do a little bit of switching around in the old inventory like usual. And, ooh, is that something on the shelf? That's an extra taser battery, and I think an extra ink ribbon as well. Always useful. Always happy to see them. This is definitely the part of the game now where I really start chewing through the ink ribbons, because there's a lot of faff to be done in the residence. Even though it's a relatively small area of the game, there's a lot of back and forth, a lot of switcherooing, as I like to call it. And we're going to leave the sword key in there for now, because we won't really need to use it until we get back to the mansion. I think I forgot to unlock the kitchen during the early playthrough, which is in the basement. You don't really need to go down there, to be perfectly honest, but it's worth unlocking the door just to get rid of that sword key and free up the old inventory space. Anyway, we're going to investigate the back of this. I think this is the game room that this leads into. There's a sequence of annoying things you're really going to have to pay attention to here, and that's a giant spider. We're going to get rid of that one post-haste. Yeah, can't be dealing with giant tarantulas. Just, nope. Nope. All around, nope. Probably the least effective enemy in the game, but still one that rustles my jimmies largely the most. Largely the most. They're still pretty icky when they're dead as well. But anyway, you gotta pay attention to these red oil lamps. There's a puzzle that kind of shifts around every time you play through here that requires the lighter, some symbols that, it's confusing. It's friggin' confusing. It's friggin' annoying. I needed to write it down on a piece of paper just to remember it last time, and, that's grim. That is just grim. But there are a few more spiders lurking around here. I'm pretty sure there's one stuck to the wall up here. You can leave it alone if you want to, but, I'm not that forgiving. Death to all spiders. Death to all creepy crawlies. And here's a bunch of balls. These are important balls. You need to pay close attention to the balls. But yeah, it's one of those sections of the game where it's really handy to have an old pen and paper. Just so you can remember a few things without having to endlessly backtrack and refresh your memory. He's still alive. No longer. Trusty Magnum. Trusty old Magnum. Ooh, more shotgun shells. Lovely. Could always do with more ammo for the old assault shotty. And a few more items at the back here. This book is a puzzle item, which is fairly straightforward. But first time round I was absolutely baffled by it because it's a book with absolutely nothing inside of it. You open it up and the pages are blank, which is always useful. But you have to pay attention to the spine of the book instead. Because there's a bunch of these books on a shelf and you got to line up the picture in the right way to get the magic door to slide open. Anyway, what have we got in the old first aid box? It's always a little bit of a gamble what you get in this stuff. We got raccoon herb, what mix of it? Green and blue, lovely. So, if there was any more evidence you needed that this game really doesn't want you to stay poisoned for long, there you go. We got 3 green herbs, 3 blue herbs at the entrance of the residence. And it's practically giving us a premix, just to make sure we get through this in one piece. But now that we've sorted out that little area, cleared it of its arachnid infestation, we can move a little deeper into the residence. But first, we're going to have to push this box the right way. First time round, I actually pushed this box over the wrong hole. You see there's this hole in front that I'm going to put it over. You would have thought I should push it over the hole to the left there. That would be bad. That way tentacles lie, and you don't want to be dealing with tentacles. They do a little bit of damage, but if you do it this way, if you climb over the top of all of the boxes, which, yes, does take a little bit more time, you will run into less problems. So yeah, it's the Icarus tip of the day right there, folks. It's all about making sure you take as little damage as possible, really, and I'm sure it is entirely possible to do an entire run of this game without taking a single bit of damage, but that is not this playthrough. I don't think that will be any of my playthroughs. I'm just not that good. Anyway, we got a stack of newspapers down here. What's it say on the newspapers? They all seem to contain articles about stars. Coincidence. What about this stuff? Nope, can't read that either. Maybe we got some goodies in the little cupboard down here. Nope, jack. What have we got on the wall? The map of the residence. Awesome. It's not a complex place. It's not complex at all. You probably don't even need the map. But there's a hole in the wall. You know what? Let's tempt fate. We see a giant beehive. It's time for my Nicolas Cage impression, isn't it? Oh god, not the bees! Jeez, they're already attacking me. Let's run. We're getting out of here. Hopefully we can get through one of these side doors. Nope, it's locked. Okay, right. We're running the other direction. I'm not stopping. I'm not giving him a chance to sting me again. Screw you, you horrible little bees. I am out of here. Every now and again, when you're trying to record a Let's Play, things go wrong. And in this case, I recorded about an hour's worth of footage in one go, and as a result, no audio recorded. No audio whatsoever recorded. All of the video footage is fine, which is, you know, great. That's at least the minimum that I can tolerate here. But for some reason, after this point, everything just went to hell. So, I don't know if you've ever tried playing a game that's supposed to be suspenseful and scary with the sound turned off, but it's a very different kind of crappy experience, and that is kind of what I'm left with here, so I'm stuck. I'm stuck basically trying to figure out how to continue this, so I've decided instead to just give you the cliff notes of everything that I've done here in the residence. First of all, I figured out what symbols are connected to those billiard balls because for some reason it unlocks a chemical closet that you need to mix some friggin' chemicals in. It's convoluted, it's something that I'm not gonna miss whatsoever. What I am gonna miss, however, is the fact that beneath this residence is a great big aquatic research ring. And you know what's in this great big aquatic research ring? Giant friggin' sharks! Oh, by the way, I totally gassed the beehive, but that's besides the point. Giant frigging sharks! So basically what you've got to do here is get into the pressure shelter and drain the entire aqua ring, but naturally, because this is Resident Evil, half of the controls and buttons and valves don't work, so you spent running around in circles trying to press these levers and turn these valves while a giant pissed off shark is trying to ram through some glass. Like Deep Blue Sea style. You know that film where Samuel Jackson gets eaten by a giant shark just after he's delivered a very rousing speech? It was kind of like that, but minus Samuel Jackson in the rousing speech. Once you've drained the ring, you can go down to the bottom level where you'll find some disenfranchised sharks flopping around on the floor, and you can pick up a key for another door up top. Turns out though that Neptune isn't quite done yet, so you're gonna have to push a panel into the shallow water, flip a switch, and electrocute the son of a bitch until he stops, well, trying to eat you. After that, you explore a few more rooms, find a guy that hung himself, and solve a door puzzle with that book that I mentioned a little earlier. But you don't go through the door, oh hell no! You do not go through the door. Instead, you go back to that chemical closet and you do some science, god damn it. You mix the crap out of those chemicals in a very specific order in order to create V-Jolt. And you need to take that all the way back down to the aqua ring and pour it on some tentacle roots, because that's the big boss of this area, and you can totally skip it as Jill if you poison the roots before you run into the room, which is pretty helpful to be perfectly honest. Between all that, you manage to catch Barry on the other side of a door, talking to someone on a walkie-talkie and saying some vaguely sinister and worrying things. When you bust in and kind of confront him on it, he just says he's going a little bit crazy, talking to himself, because that's better. You know, you're in a creepy mansion, you want to depend on your teammates, and he's flat out saying that he's probably going a little crazy. He's the one with the magnum here. Well, I obviously have the other magnum, but he had it first. My point still stands. Possible schizophrenia aside, you eventually make it into the big old plant boss room and are promptly scooped up by a big old tentacle, which is a bit of a worrying position. This game was developed in Japan after all. Thankfully, Barry manages to overcome his mental demons and storms back in with a big old flamethrower, which, as we know, is pretty much kryptonite to plants. Job done. Thank you very much, Barry. Remember to take those crazy pills. So after that, you're probably wondering, well, what was the entire point of this section of Resident Evil? Poking around this residence, fighting giant sharks and giant mutated plants. Well, naturally, it was so you could pick up a key. A key to unlock other parts of the mansion. Fantastic. But wait, that's not all. Shortly before we leave the residence, we run into our old buddy Wesker, who seems to share our concern about Barry's mental state. Clearly, this Wesker fella is a very good judge of character and will be a valuable ally in future encounters. That's right, I'm keeping an eye on you, Barry. And that pretty much brings our grand tour of this section of the game to a close. Hopefully future episodes of this LP won't suffer from similar technical problems. Normally I would have re-recorded all of this, but unfortunately the save that I used while recording did overwrite all of the previous progress, so there wasn't really any way back for me here, but thanks for bearing with me all the same. Hope to see you next time. Icarus out.